Romans 8:28 says, "For we know that in all things God works together for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." And it has been so neat in learning the story of Cooper Jasper to see how God has used this tragedy, this horrible death of a 5-year-old little boy, but how He has used that for His triumph and for ultimate good. And there are so many facets of this story that we didn't get to fit into the documentary. And man, I just feel like we would be cheating you out of some like amazing wow God stories if we didn't share these with you. So the first story that I want to share with you involves Cooper's oldest sister, Lauren, and she was at the camp, as you remember, and she got that one phone call that changed her life completely. But while she was at the camp, her aunt and uncle were there with a youth group, and God used Cooper's life story to shake up the lives of some students in an amazing way. And so I just want to share that with you.
We were at a camp, and the theme of the camp was called Flipped. And really in that theme, they shared about how Jesus came to fulfill the gospel and that He flipped scripture on its head. And our camp pastor used specifically an illustration that said one phone call, and he shared a story about personal tragedy in his life with one of his children, not death, but just how one phone call changed his life as his child was rushed to the hospital. And then we had, little did we know that hours later we would receive that one phone call that flipped everything for us and every life that was on that trip.
Whenever they explained that Lauren had got the phone call that they had talked about all week, 36 kids went to the altar and either gave their life to the Lord or rededicated to the Lord. So immediately Cooper's death prompted 36 people to get in right relationship with the Lord.
You know, it's the last day of camp, so, you know, you want to make a change in your life. So we walk up there to praise and worship, New Life Family. On the screens, it just took all the lyrics off and said, New Life Family Church, please report to the back. I get back there and everybody's in this huddle crying. They told me this child was 5 years old, and that night I gave my life to Christ because it touched me.
I mean, I just felt God call to me, talk to me, telling me to stop being so selfish, that I need to start striving more for Him instead of just striving to please myself.
God used Cooper by taking his life to let me realize that I wasn't living the life that I was supposed to.
I guess I needed someone to fill that void for me. And Cooper showed me, that God's the only one that can fill that void. Kind of gave me a little wake-up call. God took one to save a lot. That's like jaw-dropping to me. Like one life, how can that just save so many? And I was one of those people that got saved.
It was genuine, what God did and stirred, and that our kids are still living for the Lord. And it wasn't a camp hype experience as so many times your kid can flood an altar, but this was a moment that was sealed and stamped, and God used tragedy for His triumph, and it was a beautiful picture to watch walked out in Scripture. And God used this, and is still using their testimony. It's opened the doors. Everyone shares pain. Pain is the common denominator for so many people, and they get everyone's attention when they share their real pain. And God has gotten an opportunity to speak to so many people that He otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity to. And certainly in the lives of our student ministry, we have been blessed from the overflow of how God chose to show Himself mighty in such a horrible, horrific situation. And so that's our story.